Well, hey there, it's been a while. Welcome to another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast, the state tournament for 2019, which both Class A and B, those were dandies. They are behind us. The 2019 Shields Softball All-Star Series is behind us. Summer softball is raring and going, and we just need a little break, a little time to recover, and now it's time to look back a little bit. Excited for this podcast as we review the 2019 state tournaments for both Class A and Class B. After we do this podcast, give us another week or two, then we're going to recap the Shields Softball All-Star Series. It was an incredible 5 days if you combine the two events. But let's get right into the state tournament, which for my money was one of the best state tournaments we've had. Now, were there some lopsided games? Yes, but there were as many close last bats, victories, walk-offs, or wins in the 7th or 8th or 9th inning as I can ever remember. It was a lot of fun. And the location in Fargo for the Class B tournament was sensational. Tharaldson Park, the new home of NDSU softball, turf field, just a beautiful facility. And it's not even done yet, but the beautiful facility was a fantastic host for the 2019 Class B State Softball Tournament. And as we start to look at the bracket and the results, the very first quarterfinal game between the defending state champion Central Cass Squirrels and Minot Bishop Ryan. This was a rematch of a game played at the Castleton Invite earlier in the season, and just like the first time, it was Castleton, pretty much in charge the whole way, as Central Cass rolled to victory.
And the cleanup hitter, Mackenzie McKinnon, one of 3 seniors on this team, and a smack into left field. It drops on one bounce. It's going to drive in a run. And McKinnon with a double into left field to make it 2-0 for the Squirrels. That one popped up behind shortstop. Looks like it's going to drop, and it will. 1 run will score. Stays just barely in the infield. McKinnon scores on the play to make it 3-0.
That's Jared Medenwald on the call. 103.9 The Truck as Central Cass 10-4 winners over Minot Bishop Ryan in the quarterfinal round of the Class B State Softball Tournament. That led us to our first doozy of a weekend full of them. The 2 seed from the West, Velva Drake Animus, a sensational season, against the 3 seed from the East, Hillsboro Central Valley, an up-and-down season. And this one went down to the wire.
Forseth takes a practice cut. Now she's ready. 2-2 from Pesa. Swung on and hit the center field. That's going to be over the center fielder all the way out to the fence. They're going to wave around Iverson, and she'll score standing up. On her way to third is Forseth, and she'll slide in for an uncontested RBI triple. 1-0 Hillsboro Central Valley. Opposite field, base hit's going to fall in. Rounding third is Kritzberger. Throw won't be in time, and then advancing to third on the throw in is Pruneda, and Knutsig with an RBI single makes it a 5-4 ball game as the Burros are within 1. Ground ball, opposite field's going to get through for a hit. 1 run is in. They're going to get the throw in. It's cut off. 2 runs are going to score. Carolyn Bodine came in from third, and Chloe Bordeaux in from second, making it a 7-5 lead for the Aggies as the cleanup hitter Bloomhagen goes the opposite way. 2 runs banded in, and she stands at first base. Top of the 7th, last chance for the Burros. 1, 2, 3 in the batting order. And the first pitch, Maddie Mathis hits it left field, drops it in for a hit. She's going to dig for 2. Throw is in. She's safe. She got in under the tag. That was a close play. Aggressive running by Maddie Mathis. And she went in head first to second base. And it's a leadoff double for Hillsboro Central Valley in the top of the 7th. They trail by 2 runs. Ground ball, nice stop deep in the hole. They're going to throw to third. That's not a forced play, though. Now they'll throw to first, and it's a fielder's choice. Everyone's safe, and the Burros score a run. Holy moly. Mathis came in to score. Iverson stays at second. The Aggies threw to third, thinking that the bases were loaded, and they were not. That was not a forced play, so Forseth is on with a fielder's choice to give a run banded in. 7-6 Burros are within 1.
That's Craig Keating of KMAV on the call. And yeah, Hillsboro Central Valley would do just a little bit more. They came all the way back. Quite a come-from-behind victory. Burros 8 and Velva Drake Animus 7 in just a fantastic game. And then we get into the nightcap of the semifinals, or check that, of the quarterfinals. And to me, the shocker of the tournament starts right here. Not that Kindred Richland's not a good team, but boy, did they go to work. Heart River 10-run Kindred Richland in Castleton earlier in the season. Well, it was all Kindred Richland in this one, leading the whole way, a 6-0 victory over Heart River, and it all came on the arm of McDonald, a young pitcher for Kindred Richland who really came into her own here in the state tournament. The win sends Kindred Richland into the semifinals. Thompson and Des Lacs Burlington Lewis Clark in the nightcap, so to speak, and it was a close game, but it was the team from the West that came out on top.
Fly ball well hit center field, going back, and it's going to bounce off the wall. 2 runs are going to score. Nistler throws it into the cutoff, and it's a 2-run double for Brooklyn Benno. 2-0 Lakers.
Ball and 2 strikes here to Taylor Zach. Jordan on deck. Hermanson's 1-2 pitch. A little pop-up down the first base line. It's going to drop in for a hit. Zach's going to head to second. She's going to get a bloop double out of that. 2-2 to Carrie Nistler. Should she reach, Ashlyn Workin is on deck. 2-2 from Hermanson. Fly ball, shallow center, and it drops. 2 runs are going to score to make it 5-3.
Called strike 3 in the inside corner. Nistler's throwing up, and that's 16 strikeouts for Hermanson for out number 1. Still 2 on and 1 out for Thompson.
The Keating duo there of Craig and Dan Keating on the calls for that one. And ultimately, Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. Just too much for the Tommies as DLBLC wins this one 6-3 behind the pitching of Erica Hermanson. So that sets us up in the consolation bracket with a all-West matchup between Bishop Bryan and Velva Drake Animus in consolation semi number 1. In that one, Bishop Bryan came away winners 7-5. In the second consolation semifinal, Heart River and Thompson. Now, a cool story out of Thompson. They kind of begged and pleaded their way into staying down in Fargo for the state tournament. And as their head coach, Matt Chandler, said that meant that they needed to do something while they were there. And they started doing that in the consolation semifinal round.
Ground ball right back up the middle into center field. They're waving around Olivia Dick. She will score. Hughes will advance to third, and Thompson will go up 2-0 on an RBI single by Carrie Nistler. 1-0 pitch. That's hit high in the air into shallow left, and a collision. The shortstop, the left fielder, Bolt catches the ball. Nistler's going to tag and come home and score run number 4 on a sac fly and a run batted in for Ashlyn Workin.
There's a base hit up the middle on an 0-1 pitch to Abby Kessel. Rounding third, Pilkowski, and she's in to score to make it a 4-2 ball game as Thompson's lead is trimmed to 2 runs. That one headed the opposite way of the gap, and that's going to score at least 2. 1 run is in. It's going to be a ground rule double as it took a hop and went over. So Zach will stop at second, and that stops Grace Stump at third. And I think she would have scored on that play and had not left the park, so it actually might have helped Heart River that it took a hop over the wall in right field.
Some more highlights there from KMAV. Dan Keating on the call for the first 2 highlights there. Craig Keating on the call for the second 2 highlights. The 9-4 win for Thompson over Heart River set a 7th place game to be Heart River versus Velva Drake Animus. We'll come back to that one. And a consolation final of Thompson and Bishop Bryan. We'll come back to that one as well. Then we get to the 4 o'clock game for my money, the game of the tournament. And once again, it included the Hillsborough Central Valley Burros. And this time, the Central Cass Squirrels, who had 1 loss on the year coming into this game. They had played Hillsborough Central Valley in a doubleheader and outscored them something like 39-6 in the doubleheader sweep for the Squirrels. The state tournament was a different day. As their coach said, Corey Erickson, they didn't need to beat them more than 1 time. 1 shot, 1 day, anything could happen. Well, and the game fit the script because it was, quite frankly, a wild one.
This one headed to right field the opposite way, going back. Still going back. It's over the right fielder and all the way to the base of the wall. Up to second. They're going to wave her around to third. The throw coming in, and she's got a triple. It's Jillian Hurt with a leadoff triple for Hillsborough Central Valley here in the top half of the 3rd inning. No balls, 2 strikes to Nicole Hurt with 2 down. First pitch. Ground ball to left field for a base hit. They're going to wave around the lead runner, Mathis, and the throw gets the cutoff. Mathis will score, and the Burros take a 2-0 lead. Forsyth into the wind, and the pitch down the right field line, and it's a fair ball as it lands on the line, and it bounces out of the park for a ground rule double. She would have had at least a triple had it not bounced out of play, but it's a ground rule double, and Peyton Richter stands at second base. Good strong breeze from the north. It's blowing out to right field. Fly ball toward the gap, right center field, way back. It's gone, a home run. I think the wind might have just gave it enough oomph to get it over the wall. Oh, Corey Erickson jumping up and down. He is excited. Big high five for Caitlin Ensign as she rounds third. And a home run to right center field for Caitlin Ensign, probably about 210 feet or so, maybe close to 220 out of the ballpark. And the Burros take a 3-1 lead.
Craig Keating here on the call from KMAV, and to set the stage, it would be a one-run Hillsboro lead in the bottom of the seventh, 2 on, 2 out, and senior all-star Lexi Boer at the plate with a 2-0 count. Was watching this one on the way back from Minot after catching some of the Class A state tournament, and both sides will never forget this one. Craig, give us the final result.
2-0 the count. Huge situation here. Fly ball, center field. Iverson backs up. Crawford, folks, she can't come up with it, and the game is over. Oh, my. That's it for the ball game. Central Cass walks off.
What a game it was. They figured they'd have to play almost perfect ball to beat them and came up just slightly short. Speaking of the Burros, Central Cass 4 and Hillsboro Central Valley 3. Game number 2, again, the surprise, kind of the Cinderella of the state tournament in Class B, the Kindred Richland Vikings facing off against Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark. DLBLC with a couple of very good pitchers, one dominant. They've been so close to cracking it for the West and winning the first state title, not only for DLBLC, but for the West. But on this day, it was once again about the Vikings.
1-2. Swing and drive into right center field, into the alley and into the gap. It goes over the head of the center fielder, Bachmeyer. A run is scored. Holland rounding third. She'll score. Kapang to third, in. A stand-up triple, 2 in, and it's 8-4 Vikings.
Brad Anderson on the call there, 103.9. The Truck as Kindred Richland takes down Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark 8-4. In the state semifinals, setting up a third-place game between Hillsboro Central Valley and Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, and a championship game just like in 2017. We'll find a theme there as we get into the Class A tournament. Central Cass and Kindred backing all the way up and starting on day number 3, the 7th-place game between Heart River and Velvet Drake Animus. Crazy story. This is like the 5th time these teams have played this year. Heart River finished it off winning 14-4. Heart River won all of those games. Outside of that, going into the state tournament, like one loss all year for Velvet Drake Animus. Crazy right there. The consolation semifinal, Thompson versus Bishop Ryan. Both those coaches had an opportunity to coach in the Shield Softball All-Star Series. Talked to Matt Chandler of Thompson, and he said on this day, the Tommies made plays they didn't make all year.
That's hit in the air to the gap in right center field. Going to bounce over the fence for a ground rule double for Taylor Zach. Her third hit of the tournament, her third double. Pitch from Lovelace. That's a soft line drive. That's going to be in for a base hit. That'll plate another run, an RBI single for Ivestall. That will score Olivia Dick. Lions are down to potentially their last strike. 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Down on strikes goes Regina. And Grace Stump picks a perfect time to get her first strikeout to end the ball game.
Final score of the Consolation Championship, Thompson 8, Bishop Ryan 1. That right there was Dan Keating on KMAV. Big thanks to them for all the highlights. We'll actually hear from them one more time here in just a minute. So recap on the left side of the bracket. Heart River wins the 7th place game. Thompson wins the consolation game. And the 3rd place game, you saw two teams that disappointing in the sense that Hillsboro Central Valley was oh so close to making it to their first ever state championship game. And Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis, and Clark, no doubt, they came to try to win a state championship and came up short, but they would not come up short in the 3rd place game.
Kritzberger's 3-2 on the way. That's driven into center field for a base hit. It's down, running, coming around is Riss. She'll score on an RBI single off the bat of Brooklyn Benno. It's 1-0 Lakers. Well, that one's hit high in the air to left field. That's carried
Chance.
back, and that's off the top of the wall. We're going to have a tie game around to score as Mattis on an RBI double by Forceps. She almost hit that out.
Yeah, it went off that white line right at the top of the fence. So less than a foot from going out of here.
There's a hit into right field. That's going to get past Chandler. 1 run will score. They're going to wave around another to make it 3-1 on a double off the bat of Mackenzie Rist, her second hit of the game.
Dan Keating there on the call. KMAV one more time. You also heard Jason Keating on there for a little bit in the second clip. The LBLC, they'd go on to score 16 more times and win the third place game by a marker of 19-1, and that set the stage for a packed Thoroldson Park, because these two teams are, about a 15-20 minute drive from the field, and they played in the 2017 state championship game, and the two of them combined for every state championship in Class B except for one. Talking about Central Cass and Kindred Richland, and it was a pretty well-played game on both sides, but the Squirrels finished it off, back-to-back state championships that they won, a one-loss season. They lost way back in game number 2 or 3 of the year to Hankinson Tri-State, and they come all the way through, winning a few close ones down the stretch and capturing another state championship by a score of 6-2. Congratulations, really to all the teams in the state tournament, but especially to Central Cass on their incredible season and a back-to-back state championship situation. Now, you thought Class B was good. I will disappoint you now and tell you we don't have audio from Class A, but we had some fantastic games. Not on the first day, though, and that's where we'll start. Out in Minot, the quarterfinal matchups, frankly, not close. In terms of the day order, Valley City put the hammer down on Dickinson with a 10-3 win. It's actually the bottom game on the bracket. Then the 1 o'clock game, which is the second game in the bracket, Bismarck Century 10-run rule win over West Fargo Cheyenne by a mark of 11-1. Bismarck High in the 4 o'clock game pulled away late from Fargo North, winning 10-2, and West Fargo 10-run Minot by a mark of 12-2. So that set us up for day number 2, and I'll tell you, this day far more entertaining. Dickinson and Fargo North played a fantastic back-and-forth ball game, with Dickinson scoring a pair of runs on an error in the bottom of the 7th to tie the game at 7 after North scored 2 in the top of the 7th. A lot of 7s going on here. And 2 innings later, Dickinson finally walk-off winners as they scored in the bottom of the 9th to win that one 8-7. Interesting, though, they had beaten North 10-1 and 17-6 earlier in the year. So a much closer game here, highly competitive. Game number 2, Minot got going right away and rolled past Cheyenne by a score of 13-2 on their home South Hill Complex Diamond in Minot, setting up a consolation championship game between Minot and Dickinson that we'll come back to in just a minute. Here's where it gets really good. Okay, the state semifinals. West Fargo High School, Bismarck Century. The two played in West Fargo earlier in the season, okay? Xander from Bismarck Century throws a no-hitter, but West Fargo scratches across a run and wins it 1-0. Yeah, well done there. Fast forward to the 7th inning. It's West Fargo finding themselves down 2-0 to Bismarck Century. They put on the rally caps. They had gone, through 13 innings. They had scored no runs. Well, they put together 3, and the bat of Jaden Iverson helped out. That's an important name that we're going to come back to. And West Fargo High School takes down Bismarck Century 3-2 in what I would tell you is an instant classic. But there was another game, and this was an even better game, if you can imagine that. Valley City and Bismarck High, they went back and forth and back and forth and into extra innings, tied 7-7. Enter freshman Logan Gronberg, who carried the Demons most of the season with her arm and her bat, and that's why she was the Gatorade Player of the Year. As a freshman in North Dakota, she ended up taking care of business. In the bottom of the 8th, she tattooed one, bye-bye, a home run, walk-off style, sending Bismarck High into the state championship against West Fargo. Yes, a rematch of the 2017 state championship. It was 2017 all over again at this point, with Central Cass and Kindred set to play for a title, and West Fargo and Bismarck High set to play for a title. First, though, there was a third-place game, and Valley City, you got to hand it to them on the season that they had. Another bit of a wild one, right? 12-9, Valley City over Bismarck Century in the third-place game. Should back up because the first game of Saturday saw Dickinson take down Minot 5-3. So Dickinson is your consolation champion. Valley City takes third. I guess you could say that Fargo North and West Fargo Cheyenne finish in a tie for 7th. They don't play that 7th place game in Class A state tournament ball. Then we get to the Grand Pumbaa of them all. West Fargo High, for the first time last year, didn't win a state title. It was Minot instead, winning it in Fargo. West Fargo wanted to win it in Minot. And it was, again, a back-and-forth game. Late, it looked like Bismarck was in charge. And then we mentioned that Jaden Iverson, a bat that Coach Pat Johnson used off the bench pretty regularly throughout the season. And she delivered here with the biggest hit of the whole year, a home run late in the game to lead West Fargo back from behind. And ultimately, they pull this one out, come from behind style, 8-6. Got to tip your cap to Courtney Bowl as she threw all 3 games and got 3 wins for West Fargo in the state tournament. Now, Class A doesn't play a 7th place game. Class B does. But something that Class A does do that Class B doesn't is an all-state tournament team. And the all-state tournament team for Class A looks like this from Bismarck Century, Maylee Wittenberg and Maddie Zander. From Bismarck High, Logan Gronberg, Maddie Steckler, and Lakin Stork. Taya Hopfoff of Dickinson made the all-state tournament team, as did all-star J.C. Rosted from Minot. Haley Schaefer and all-star Grace Shear from Valley City. And then Courtney Bowl, previously mentioned in an all-star. Jaden Iverson, previously mentioned. And Mariah Peters all made it from West Fargo. And to back up Bismarck High, Lakin Stork and Maddie Steckler both were all-stars. Then the Class A state tournament team, the Class A all-state team looks like this. Bismarck Century with 3 of them, Maddie Grod, Maylee Wittenberg, and Maddie Zander. 2 from Bismarck Legacy in the forms of Alexis Dressler and Kaylee Weigel. Logan Gronberg and Lakin Stork from Bismarck High on the all-state team. Taya Hopfoff of Dickinson, Spencer Moore of Fargo Davies, Fargo North's Ava Kalbrenner, Minot High's J.C. Rosted, Gabby Nelson from Shanley on the Class A all-state tournament team. Check that. Hard to say. The Class A all-state team. Valley City, Haley Schaefer and Grace Shear made it. From West Fargo High, Ashley Diemert and Tori Nichols-Craft. And from West Fargo Cheyenne, Maddie Butchert and Emma Johnson. That is your Class A all-state team. You get into the deeper awards. The Coach of the Year in Class A was Pat Johnson of West Fargo. Your Senior Athlete of the Year nominees, Gabby Nelson of Shanley and J.C. Rosted of Minot. The award going to Gabby Nelson. And as mentioned earlier, the Gatorade Player of the Year, Logan Gronberg, a freshman from Bismarck High. In the sport of Class B softball, here's your all-state team. From Central Cass, Lexi Boer and Peyton Richter. Hillsborough Central Valley's Sage Forseth and Mackenzie Iverson. Amanda Ressler from Kindred Richland. Annika Bierke from Northern Cass. How about a pair from Mayport CG area, Dallas Jorgensen and Kennedy Foss. Congratulations to Maxine Ebel from Hankinson Tri-State Lidgerwood on making the Class B all-state team. Also, Abby Kessel of Hart River. Emma Pesa of Velvet Drake Animus. Des Lacs, Burlington, Lewis and Clark's Erica Hermanson. Celie Rovig from Bishop Bryan. Beulah's Phoebe Garman. Emmy Thompson of West Hope, Newburgh, Bottineau. Janie Savacool from Mohall, Lansford, Sherwood, Kenmare, Bowbells. And another one from DLBLC in the form of sophomore Brinley Benno. Brinley, the only sophomore on the Class B softball all-state team. The nominees for Outstanding Senior Athlete of the Year were Lexi Boer from Central Cass and Phoebe Garman from Beulah, with the award going to Lexi Boer, and it was a Central Cass sweep with Coach of the Year going to Mr. Scott Cost. A fantastic year of high school softball in the state of North Dakota, even though we lost a good portion of it to good old Mother Nature. Congratulations to all the state tournament teams, all the all-state nominees or recognizers, all of the all-state tournament team players. Everybody mentioned in this podcast, congratulations. And even if you or your team weren't, congratulations to you on another high school softball season. Now, we will be back here in the next week or two with another podcast because we need to wrap up what was an incredible 2 days of the Shields Softball All-Star Series. Until then, this will do it. My name's Tim Howe. This is another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast.